So good afternoon everyone. Our topic for today is all about behaviorism. So behaviorism, it is an attempt to make psychology more scientific by studying only external behavior. So behavior, it is a response of an organism to stimuli, objectives, and observables. The idea of how environmental stimuli bring about the changes in people's behavior. The behaviorist, it is ignore what goes on inside our mind since it can be seen or measured, or in other terms, mind is in a black box. So behaviorism is an attempt to make psychology more scientific by studying the external behavior. So when we say behavior, it is the response of an organism. So according to the behaviorist, we are born as a blank slate. One's environment writes on pencils to pour knowledge into lump of clay that can be shaped by one's only thing that matters. So learning, it is a behavior change due to our experience. It doesn't consider or believe in intrinsic motivation. So when we say behaviorism, it is a theory on which we learn through the interaction with the environment. So here is the history of behaviorism. So the first theorist is Ivan Pavlov, a Russian psychologist who developed the idea of classical conditioning in 1927 using the dogs. So the study of Ivan Pavlov is all about classical conditioning. So here's the video that explains what is classical conditioning.
Classical conditioning. Classical conditioning is a way of learning where a stimulus that triggers a biological response is met with a new stimulus that then results in the same reaction. The most famous work in classical conditioning was done by Ivan Pavlov in the 1890s. During this time, Pavlov did a lot of research around the digestive processes of dogs. One day, during his research, Pavlov noticed that the dogs began to salivate in the presence of the technician who normally fed them. He wondered if the technician was a trigger that stimulated a response associated with food. To find out, he constructed an experiment that would allow him to measure the dog's output of saliva. First, he served the dog food. Then, he served the food while playing the sounds of a metronome and repeated the process a few times. Finally, he removed the food and only played the metronome. The dogs began to salivate in response to the metronome alone. Pavlov concluded that if a new stimulus was present when the dog was given food, then that stimulus became associated with food and caused salivation on its own. When he published his findings, Pavlov called the food an unconditioned stimulus because its effects on the dog were not learned. Instead, they triggered an unconditioned response that happened naturally and completely out of the dog's control. The metronome is a first and neutral stimulus. Through the process of repeating and pairing the two, the dog learns to connect the two. This means that a neutral stimulus becomes a conditioned stimulus, and the response to that, a conditioned response. He also reported that 1. Learning occurred most rapidly when the interval between the sound and the appearance of the food was short. 2. The saliva produced by the sound differed in composition from that produced by the food, which means that the conditioned response was not an exact replica of the unconditioned response. 3. While there are several forms of conditioning, such as forward and backward conditioning, classical conditioning cannot create new behavior or be used for training, but instead triggers involuntary biological responses. 4. We can almost entirely undo the conditioning. This happens through extinction when we repeatedly present the conditioned stimulus in the absence of the unconditioned stimulus. So, what occurs inside the brain? When a dog sees the food, the signals from the eyes and nose stimulate
meat, and the dog. Bell and associated with the dog. So in the first picture, it is the meat. So it is unconditioned stimulus. Because when we say unconditioned stimulus, there is no need to feel. So it remains meat siya. So sa dog, it is also unconditioned stimulus because the dog salivate when the dog sees about food. So the neutral stimulus, so when we say neutral, it is no reaction. The bell is the neutral stimulus. And no response, the same as with the first dog here above. Unconditioned response or no response. So this happens during the classical condition. So when you rang the bell associated with the meat, so the dogs will salivate. And if that cycle happens, kung permitihan nito siya nga ang mag-rang ka sa bell, magbutang ka sa food, maanad ang iro, so mag-salivate na siya. So after sa conditioning, so the bell is the conditioned stimulus and the dog will be conditioned response. Because kung mag-rang ka sa bell, dinaanan siya ato nga side bell nga, na I mean, ka na rang sa bell, then ang dog is mag-salivate na after sa conditioning kung disable meat. So na-habit na niya nga na ay bell, tapos so musunod yun ang meat. So after sa conditioning is maanad siya nga mag-salivate siya even though iyang madamog isang bell. So that's the classical conditioning of Ivan. So classical conditioning, it explains the learning of involuntary emotional or psychological response. It happens when two stimuli are represented at the same time. Being kicked by a horse, associated horse with severe anxiety around the horse. So important for teachers is school can cause an intentional learning through classical conditioning, especially anxiety. Text anxiety, general school anxiety, fear, frustration, and humiliation. So example, hearing a teacher, friend, boy or girlfriend says that we need to talk. Upon hearing that phrases, your stomach flutters, any of your own example. So in this example, so when someone is like for example, mukatra nimo, so wala na kang makulbaan, panita mo na siya ganang imo ra na siya ang chat. So makulbaan na jud ka nga kasi nakaisala or nakay something nga gibuhat. So that is the example of classical condition. So Ivan Pavlov has a principles about classical condition. So first is generalization. So generalization, when we learn to respond to one stimulus, we exhibit the same response to stimulus. Example, condition to fear matters, generalize all the schools. So for example, your weakness is a math subject. So if you fear the math subject, so ma-generalize na nimo, wali na ka ganang mas pila kay palitan na atong math subject, di ka ganahan, so ma-generalize nimo nga, di ko ganahan sa math subject, so di na ko ganahan mas pila. So that is the example of the generalization. Or generalizing all. So next is extension, or it is a gradual disappearance of an acquired response. Can happen naturally. Dog stops getting met when music is played. Or it can happen through some types of therapy on severe anxiety reaction. So for example, the Ivan classical conditioning about the dog. So after the conditioning, so if the dog hears about the bell, ring, runs, so ang dog is makakuan siya, mag-salivate siya because kay mana nga bell is naanan siya na ang musunod niya is ang naay pagkaon or naa ang meat. So in extension, principles of Ivan Pavlov is kung pirmi na og ring ang bell, then inig-ato sa dog is wala kung meat, so maanad ang iro nga kada buwan nagsabi ila ra kay kani. So in these principles mo na siya ang gitawag na extension. So mawala tong conditioning sa. So next is the spontaneous recovery. So say extinguished response can be recovered after an elapsed time, but was soon extinguished again if the dog does not present. If the dog is not presented with it. So spontaneous recovery. So when we say spontaneous recovery, so for example, you are a smoker. So nikundang ka ka na-realize. So if mo to kag certain area nga, imong kauban is nagareluhay, so murag makuanin mo ang aso sa cigarettes, so murag ma-trigger imong kanang like nagamit ka na sa una, so magamit ka pa. So that is the spontaneous recovery. So next is the discrimination. The dog could learn to discriminate between similar bells and discern which bell would result in representation of the food on which would not. So discrimination is unlike compared to generalizing all. So ang kuha siya is discrimination is kuha na siya dili niya tanan lang. Like for example, kana ipaa ka sa dog. So imuhang kuha sa generalization is mo nang nakay-phobia sa dog, sumahadlok na katanan sa dog. So but in this discrimination, ipaa ka sa dog, so nakay-phobia, but in this principle is imuhang pagtuo nga dili tanan dog is kanang adog, dili tanan. So that is the discrimination. So the higher order conditioning, once the dog has been conditioned to associate with a bell with food, another condition stimulus such as light may be flashed at the same time the bell is rung. Eventually, the dog will salivate and flashlight of the flashlight. So in this principle, higher order conditioning, so in Ivan Pavlov, he used kanang bell. But in this, pwede ka magamit of light or bell ba siya, then magamit na din ka, from bell, magamit ka og drum. So this principle called the higher order condition. So next theory is Thorndike, the SR theory, the stimuli response theory. So Thorndike's SR theory, or Edward B. Thorndike, is an American pioneer in comparative psychology. Was born in Lowell,
Massachusetts.
In 1874, to the family of a Methodist minister, he became interested in the field of psychology after reading William James, The Principles of Psychology, and after graduating the Wesleyan University. So there are three laws of learning. So first, we have the law of effect. Second, the law of readiness. Third, the law of exercise. So when I say law of effect, it is an emotional reaction of the learner or positive outcomes with behavior. While the law of exercise, it encourages the repetition to acquire skills. The practice makes perfect. And the law of readiness, it is the physical, mental, and emotional states of learner hold room or negative learning experience. So law of effect. It can be an act that followed by a satisfying change in an environment, the likelihood that will act repeatedly in similar situations. So a law of effect, it can be a strength or weakness. So when I say law of effect, so for example, you study well in your para sa imong incoming exam. So the law of effect that's written you, so makakuha ka og pwede siya strength, pwede siya weakness. Kaya kung mag-study ka is makakuha ka dako nga score, it is called the strength. And kung di ka mag-study, that effect will be kind of weak. So another is law of readiness. The individual learn best when they are physically, mentally, and emotionally ready to learn, and they do not learn well if they see no reason for learning. So the law of readiness or being prepared. So when we say law of readiness or being prepared, so you are prepared for example sa test. So, prepared ka, nakatuon ka, basa ka, so that is law of repetition. Next is law of exercise. This states that any connection is treated in proportion to the number of times that occurs in proportion to the average vigor and duration of connection. Things most often repeated are the best. Remember, students do not learn complex math in a single lesson. So, law of exercise. So, we can apply this in PE. So, when we dance, we have to exercise multiple times or many times so that na-master na so